Okay, bookie fans, get ready to dive even deeper. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are continuing our epic adventure in the Summon World with Chapter 3, The Rumble of the Giant. If you've been following along, you know the stakes are high, and if you're just joining us, buckle up because things are about to get intense. So grab those headphones, settle in, and let's get lost in the next chapter of this incredible fantasy novel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any part of this journey. Now let's begin. Chapter 3, The Rumble of the Giant. Watcher's House, the Wall of Dooms. The night in the Watcher's house was heavy with silence, yet Alexander could not sleep. He lay beside Sabona, his wife, but his mind was trapped elsewhere, outside the walls, where those innocent children had been left to die. His conscience whispered relentlessly, reminding him that they were Orient people, his people. They belonged within the safety of the walls, not out there in the wilderness, abandoned to an uncertain fate. Restless, he sat up, his breathing shallow. The shadows in the room seemed to stretch toward him, their darkness pressing against his chest like an unseen weight. Unable to bear it any longer, he slipped out of bed and walked to the wooden table, pouring himself a glass of water. The soft creak of the floorboards stirred Sabona from her sleep. She blinked drowsily, then saw him sitting by the dim candlelight, lost in thought. "Love, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. Alexander looked at her, his jaw tightening. "I have spent my life as a warrior, protecting Orient from our enemies, guarding this wall against any threat. And now, when it matters most, I did nothing. I let those children die." Sabona's expression softened, but she shook her head. "But you said they were gone. No one could have saved them." His gaze hardened. "I thought they were dead. But I have to be certain. I still have the strength, Sabona. I can save them." She reached for his hand, but he had already stood up, his decision made. Gathering ropes, he tied them securely, then turned to her. He placed a gentle kiss on her lips, lingering for a moment. "I will return. With them," he promised. And then, he was gone. The Queen's garden, Floweresia. The garden of Queen Iris was a paradise of colours, a kingdom of 1,000 blossoms, each one blooming in defiance of the night. Lanterns cast a golden glow over the petals, illuminating the wealth and beauty that surrounded the Queen's castle. Yet beauty meant little in Floweresia. Power was everything. Near the grand fountain, 2 old noblemen sat on a bench, laughing as they spoke to a young woman wandering the garden. Their aged voices dripped with flattery, but the girl's eyes remained distant, detached. Beyond them, moving like a shadow among the roses, a hooded figure crept toward the Queen's inner garden. The 2 noblemen spotted her immediately. "Hey, who goes there?" one of them barked, standing. "Show your face." The figure did not respond. "I knew it. An assassin." The old man gestured to the guards. "Seize her." Before the guards could reach her, the hooded woman lifted her hands, revealing 2 rare, glowing flowers, their petals shimmering with unnatural energy. The nobleman hesitated, staring at the gifts in confusion. One of them took a step forward, entranced. What is this?" The woman finally spoke, her voice eerily calm. "A gift. A warning. And a fate." The old man inhaled the flower's scent, and in an instant, his eyes widened in sheer terror. He staggered backward, gasping, as visions flooded his mind. Floweresia burning, the castle crumbling, its people screaming, drowned in rivers of blood. The flower fell from his trembling hands. What are you?" he choked out. The woman remained silent. Enraged, the other noble lunged forward, seizing her throat. "Tell me who sent you. Was it Orient? Tell me, or I'll..." His words died in his throat as she moved like a whisper of death, a single flash of silver, and his neck split open. Blood gushed as he collapsed, gurgling. The last nobleman barely had time to react before her knife plunged into his eye sockets. He screamed, falling backward into the centre of the garden. The guards arrived too late. "Find her!" they roared. But by then, the woman had already vanished into the sea of flowers. In the Queen's chamber, Iris sat awake, troubled by matters of the kingdom. The kingdom she had fought to rule. She had risen from a simple fisherman's daughter to the throne of Floweresia, an ascent marked by ambition and ruthless cunning. The doors burst open. 2 blood-stained guards stumbled in. "My queen! An assassin! She killed Lord Laners," Iris stood, her expression cold. Her piercing gaze settled on her husband, a man she barely respected. "Get out of my sight," she spat at him before turning back to the guards. "Find this woman. Bring her to me. I will rip her apart myself." The Wall of Dooms, the descent. Alexander climbed to the top of the towering wall, the wind howling around him. Below, the world stretched into endless ruin, the remains of the Dooms village, where fire and shadows had swallowed lives whole. He peered into the distance, searching, but there were no signs of the children. Had he truly been too late? Gritting his teeth, he secured the rope and descended, his grip steady. The climb down was long, the air heavy with the scent of ash and decay. His feet finally touched the ground, and he stepped into the ruins. Silence. Then, water, water. A weak, desperate voice. His heart pounded. He sprinted through the wreckage, following the sound. And there, huddled beneath the twisted roots of two trees, lay Alice and Finn. Their clothes were torn, their bodies frail. Alice's lips moved, but her voice was barely a whisper. Alexander knelt beside them, lifting Alice's head onto his lap. "Drink," he murmured, pressing his water flask to her lips. She drank greedily before her eyes shot open in terror. She scrambled up, panic gripping her. "Where's my brother?" Alexander's stomach twisted. He turned to Finn. Finn's voice was small. "The dark beast," he came back. The words froze Alexander's blood. "No." His voice trembled. He turned to Alice. "Tell me the truth." Tears streamed down her face. "The giant. The dark beast is real." Alexander's breath caught. He clenched his fists, his body rigid with disbelief. No, it can't be." Alexander hoisted the children onto his broad shoulders, their small bodies too weak to walk after the horrors they had endured. His heavy boots echoed against the ancient stone as he led them toward the gate. His sharp eyes fell upon Alice, her face pale, her lips trembling. "Where is your younger brother?" Alexander asked, his voice firm but gentle. Alice's gaze darkened. Her fingers clenched the fabric of her torn dress. "My lord," she whispered, her voice fragile as glass. "He is no more." Alexander froze. "What? What did you say?" His words carried the weight of a tempest. Alice swallowed, tears streaming down her dirt-streaked face. "The dark beast, he came again. He killed him. He broke him." For a moment, the world around them fell silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Alexander knelt before Alice, his expression a storm of emotions. "The dark beast, is he real?" Alice's sobs deepened. She pressed her forehead against the cold stone. "Yes, my lord. He is real. And he took him." Finn, the youngest among them, clung to his sister, his innocent voice quivering. "I saw him, my lord. A giant. A real giant." A shadow passed over Alexander's face. He clenched his fists. "We cannot stay here," he muttered. "This place is cursed." He secured the children to his back with a sturdy rope, their fragile bodies trembling against his armor. Then, with effortless strength, he scaled the ancient wall, his grip unwavering. As they reached the top, the first light of dawn painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson. Below them lay Orient, the kingdom, the village, the world beyond the walls. Finn's eyes widened in wonder. "Sister, look. The kingdom. We're going there." But Alice remained still, her heart burdened with loss. Her family, her protector, were gone. Only silence remained. Alexander reached into his pack and retrieved a flask. He held it out. "Are you hungry? Do you need water?" Alice didn't respond. She snatched the flask and drank greedily, as if the water might wash away her sorrow. Finn, still filled with a child's fleeting excitement, asked, "Sister, when will we go to the other side?" Alice wiped her lips. Her voice was hollow. "When the sun rises fully, we will go." Alexander, unwilling to waste a moment, rose to his feet. "There's no time to wait. Follow the stairs down. Stay close to your brother and don't look back." Alice nodded and guided Finn to the stone steps. The two children slowly descended, disappearing into the shadows below. Alexander lingered. A warrior's instinct gnawed at him. Something was watching. He turned back to the desolate land beyond the wall, searching. And then, his blood ran cold. Standing in the distance, amidst the ruins, was the giant, The monstrous being loomed like a nightmare made flesh, its massive form wreathed in darkness. In its right hand, the lifeless body of a young boy dangled limply, blood dripping onto the cursed earth. A cruel, twisted smile spread across the giant's face, its crimson eyes glowing like twin moons of fire. Alexander's breath hitched. His muscles tensed. The sun's first full rays spilled over the horizon, golden light touching the giant's wretched form, and then it vanished. A final, haunting grin carved into the morning air. Alexander exhaled sharply. The message was clear. The dark beast had spoken without words. The destruction of Orient was near and clear. Watcher's house, the arrival of dawn. As the first golden rays of the sun crept over the horizon, Alexander stood at the entrance of the Watcher's house, his mind still reeling from the night's revelation. The dark beast, after a decade of uncertainty, of whispers in the wind and shadows in the night, was real, and he had seen it with his own eyes. The weight of the children on his back was nothing compared to the burden now settling in his chest. His pulse quickened as he turned to the two soldiers stationed outside his home, their armor glinting faintly under the first light of morning. They had seen him approach, their expressions unreadable, but their hushed whispers made it clear. They wondered why he had brought children. Before they could voice their thoughts, Alexander issued a firm command, his voice low but urgent. Go. Immediately. To the king's castle. The soldiers straightened. Tell them that the dark beast has returned. Our lord himself has witnessed it. And if the Council of Four refuses to listen, then take this message directly to the king. I do not care what it takes, but do not return with a refusal. Do you understand? The soldiers stiffened, exchanging uneasy glances. They knew the weight of such an order. If they succeeded in delivering this news, they might secure their own survival. If they failed, well, failure was not an option. Without another word, they saluted and set off at a hurried pace, vanishing beyond the morning mist. Alexander exhaled, finally stepping inside his home with the children. The warmth of the room met him, the scent of old wood and burning embers filling the air. The children, exhausted and shaken, clung to each other. The girl, Alice, kept her eyes low, her small hands still gripping the hem of her torn dress. The boy, Finn, looked around in silent awe, his innocence untouched by the horrors of the night. Sabona, my love, I'm here, Alexander whispered into the dimly lit house. A soft rustle, then hurried footsteps. Sabona appeared from the inner room, her deep eyes widening in shock as she took in the sight before her. Alexander, weary and grim, and the children, their faces streaked with dirt and sorrow. Look, Sabona, Alexander said, stepping closer. These are the children I told you about. They are hungry, tired, please, give them food, some clothes. Sabona hesitated. Questions flooded her mind, but as she opened her mouth to speak, Alexander's fingers brushed against hers. His grip was firm yet desperate, his gaze filled with something she had never seen before. Fear. I know you have questions, he murmured, but now is not the time. We must protect these children because, my love, the dark beast is real. At the mention of those cursed words, Sabona's breath caught in her throat. Her fingers instinctively curled against her chest. The dark beast. She had heard the stories, had whispered them in cautionary tales, had prayed they were nothing more than legend. But if Alexander had seen it, if he had come back shaken, then the world as they knew it was on the brink of something terrible. Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she turned to the children, pushing aside her own fear. Hey, little ones, she said gently, forcing warmth into her voice. I'm Sabona. I know you must be scared and hungry. Come here, I'll get you some food. Alice hesitated, but Finn, too young to understand the weight of the moment, stepped forward eagerly. Sabona knelt, placing a soft hand on his shoulder. For a brief moment, her heart ached. She and Alexander had no children of their own, and as she looked at these frightened faces, she felt an overwhelming sense of duty. Alexander, however, had retreated into silence, standing near the doorway with a dark expression clouding his face. His hands clenched and unclenched as his mind raced. He had faced wars, fought battles that tested his strength, but never had he felt such unease, because now, for the first time, he truly feared something. Not for himself, but for them. And in his mind, one question echoed louder than the rest. How do you kill a monster that even the sun dares not chase away? King's Castle, Orient, the morning of unrest. The two soldiers moved swiftly through the stone corridors of the king's castle, their heavy boots echoing as they tried to avoid unnecessary attention. The castle halls were quiet, save for the low murmurs of the Council of Four, who had already gathered in the grand chamber, deep in discussion over recent discoveries in the gold mines. One of the soldiers stepped forward, his voice urgent. "My lord, with all due respect, we must interrupt your discussion. We bring news of great importance, news that cannot wait." The Council of Four turned to face them. A flicker of irritation crossed their faces, but it was quickly overshadowed by curiosity. Veldrin, a member of the council, narrowed his piercing eyes. "What is this about?" "Speak quickly." The soldier took a deep breath. "My lord, the dark beast has returned. Our Lord Alexander has seen it with his own eyes." A tense silence followed. Magnus, who had been lounging in his chair, sat up abruptly, his gaze sharp. "The giant? It has returned? Has it destroyed anything?" The other soldier quickly stepped forward. "No, my lord, but it was seen beyond the walls. It lurks outside the borders of Orient." Magnus leaned forward, his fingers tapping against the armrest. "Tell me everything. What did Alexander see?" The soldier hesitated only for a moment before speaking. "My lord, as the watcher of the gates, Alexander was standing guard when he heard a sound, a deep, guttural noise that could only belong to the beast. He looked beyond the wall and saw it, a towering figure in the mist. And my lord, it smiled at him. Where is Alexander now?" Veldrin demanded. Before the soldiers could respond, a sudden voice rang through the chamber, sending chills down their spines. "Where is he now?" The heavy doors of the council chamber swung open, and James Dor, the King of Orient, stepped in. His golden crown shimmered in the sunlight pouring through the stained glass windows, casting a regal glow around him. His presence was enough to make every soldier in the room fall to their knees. "I order you," the king said, his voice sharp. "Bring Alexander to me at once. I will speak with him myself." The soldiers, knowing there was no room for debate, quickly turned and left the chamber, leaving behind an air of unease. Alright everyone, that wraps it up for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or haven't already, please subscribe for more content like this. I would really appreciate it. Finally, if you think someone else would find this interesting, please share it with your friends. Let's get the word out.